Previously on a game called Quest.
Alright, this is what we're going to do, alright?
I am Daisy the Riftwood Hero. Does that not mean anything to you?
Thorn can talk to animals. Okay, how do I talk to you?
Talon cocks her head to the side, and you just hear, I'm here.
We're going to find Maya.
Gray lays down on the grass and starts talking to, the ground. Maya!
And he grimaces, we serve the monarch to the best of our ability.
And then we're going to go back to our own worlds.
Dr. Turtle does not remember their old self at all.
The master, they're a god.
Let's go find more pages of this guidebook and hope that it leads us to Maya before we all lose our memories.
Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to another episode of A Game Called Quest. We're so happy to have you back with us today for another interesting tale. I'm Rose, and I will be your guide this evening. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you for being such an amazing support system already. The fact that we already have over 150 Twitter followers and we're leaning on 200 soon, and the fact that we have 500 plays a month and we only just started, it means so much to us. We wish that we knew who you were, so we hope that you will tweet at us and send us reviews on iTunes so that we can send love back to you. And we are just so happy to know that people are listening to this podcast and enjoying it. Secondly, I wanted to make a quick announcement, which is that we're going to be starting to run a few ads during a brief commercial break. We're hoping to, as a part of this ad break, feature one marginalized artist every episode. And then we're also going to be doing a few monetized ads as well in order to help us support the organization and the artists that are working on this podcast. You can easily skip the ads if you're not interested, though you should definitely listen to the first one because that's where we'll be featuring the new artist every other week. Alright, that's all I've got for today, so without further ado, let's get into the game. Hope you enjoyed this episode of A Game Called Quest. Alright, so our story continues as our four heroes begin their trek through the Riftwood, looking to find the Riftwood village. However, the Riftwood village is quite a bit away, so we're going to be learning a lot about the land where we are as we embark on the next leg of our adventure. We start with a wide view of the forest, which stretches out farther than the eye can see. Perhaps we're looking at it with a bit of a bird's eye view, but even from up in the sky, you can't quite tell where the forest ends and the horizon begins. And these thick, lush trees of all varieties spread out far in multiple directions. You can see birds flying out from various parts. You can see creatures dancing along the treetops of lots of different kinds. You see unnatural colors, like there's this one area where you just can see like a dash of quickly moving something bright neon blue, but you can't quite tell what it is. You can see there are parts where the trees are sparkling in a way that is not disconcerting, but definitely magical in nature. And after getting this wide view of this intensely lush and full and yet extremely magical forest, we duck down through the trees, following the bird's eye view with a rustle. As the flapping of a bird's wings, a large bird lands on the shoulder of one of our adventurers and looks around at the rest of the group. And for a moment we see through Talon's eyes these four heroes. Or it's not quite clear yet whether they're heroes, I suppose. So why don't you each give me a description of what we see of each one of you as you're walking along this it's not very well tread. It's a loosely tread path.
Zach is having a bit of an experience
his senses are like overwhelming him almost. You can see him looking around like everywhere, sort of wide-eyed, but like also really like engaged and intrigued. Like as we follow Daisy, the Riftwood hero, through the forest, Zach in Thorn's body is like looking around at the ground, at all these different tracks that he's seeing, because as Thorn in his body, he's got this ability to, for free, that he can track any animal and see what type of creature it is. So he's looking around and he's like, you can hear him like whispering under his breath, like, a squirrel, deer, oh, badger, okay. And then he starts like looking around at like the sky, and you can hear him like listening intently. He's almost like walking with his eyes closed, and he's like, okay, interesting. So it's like I can know the weather now. So he's got these like two abilities. He's got like track, and he's got read the winds, and he can sort of know, just like see animal tracks and see like what the weather's going to be for the next few days. So Rose, can you tell me what's the weather going to be like for the next few days in this region?
Yeah, so I think you're looking at a clear sky for most of today. It's early evening, so you're looking at a clear sky and fair warmth for most of the rest of the evening. But when night hits, it's going to get very, very cold. And then actually something you can't quite put your finger on. It's like a mixed bag. Then you're like, this place is going to be sunny and rainy at the same time.
Oh, okay. That would be even weirder for him, because he's not used to like getting the weather, update like in his head, and then to be told that there's magical weather, that doesn't make any sense. That's going to be even weirder for him. So he's
you want to go ahead and give a quick description of what that move is so that we know what Zach is experiencing?
Yeah, read the winds. For 0 adventure points, I can concentrate on the language of the wind, sensing weather patterns in your region of the world. You're able to glimpse the weather forecast for the next few days in the region of the world. Now, I could spend 2 adventure points and I get to choose myself what it is, but I don't think that's important right now. I just want to sort of give the idea of Zach, just sort of being like overwhelmed in his senses of all this different stuff.
Yeah.
Even with with track as well, it says when you find tracks, you can instantly identify the type of creature that left them. If it's an animal, the guide will share a fact that you know about them, like their habits or personality traits. So, I mean, I'm sure we're walking through woods. There's like a billion animals. I'm not going to make you, say all the habits of all these different animals, but I get the sense that like these sort of almost passive abilities are like working on his mind already, and he's just like, whoa, what do I do with all this information?
Oh, that's so interesting. So we definitely get like a couple of moments of just like, and maybe it even like you look at the ground and then like these thoughts just like start popping into your head, like, oh, like that squirrel was running away from that fox. So interesting. They were right there.
Oh, yeah. And what if it's in Thorn's voice, too? Yes, I see that there's a squirrel here with running away from another squirrel. They've been playing a game. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. But meanwhile, Zach's just so confused.
Yeah, Zach's confused.
All right, who else?
Gray is definitely right up at the front of the group, walking alongside Daisy. Mm-hmm. Like, laser focused straight ahead, but kind of testing out his new body, similar to how like a high school boy has to like continuously like, oh, are they walking through a doorway? Great, they're gonna like jump up and touch the top of it just because they have the need to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah,
he's got like some energy that's come out of like finding his way through this new body. He definitely keeps trying to like reach branches above him that are way out of reach, but otherwise is very, very focused on keeping up at the front of the group, and is very, very much like observant but focused ahead and not around.
Okay, so you definitely come up to a couple of low-hanging branches and jump up and like hit them. But then there's one that is a little bit higher up, and you can't quite reach it because you're too short.
And as Gray's doing this, you could swear that you could hear the faintest sound of like a crowd cheering as each time that he actually reaches one of these branches, and the tiniest sound of a buzzer every time that he misses one.
Are those magical sounds, or are you like doing like the?
No, these are magical sounds. Using
Maybe both.
My thought was he's thinking this in his head and like not realizing that he's using magic tricks, like that's like his thoughts are just kind of making that happen as we go through.
Oh, I love that. Daisy, who's walking beside you, definitely gives you a sideways glance at the very youthful and odd behavior of this elderly dwarf. Jumping up and slapping trees. Huh. He kind of gives you a sideways glance and says, "My, you're an awfully sprightly fellow."
Well, I wouldn't know. I don't know if I would say sprightly. I mean, I'm pretty built here, so. I know. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Let's jump over to somebody else.
Yeah. Dr. Turtle is just kind of sightseeing. You know, just looking around, observing this new world that they've never been to. Just occasionally being like, "Oh, sweet." Yeah, just like floating along their merry way.
Go ahead and give me a roll real quick, Dr. Turtle.
All right. Got an 8.
Okay, yeah, you've never been here. Well, wait, let me see what... Oh, actually, that's a tough choice. So, here's the success, the result of that roll. You have been here before.
Oh, I have.
Yes, you sort of remember, but alas, because of Dr. Turtle's, like, many travels, it's hard sometimes to tell the difference. So you recognize something about the area, but the tough choice is either it's not a good sign, or you remember it, but only for a second and then immediately forget.
Let's go with it's not a good sign. So Dr. Turtle is like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly. Because what Dr. Turtle remembers is that this area that you guys are in is sort of known for having, like, being a small war zone. There's often you're often, like, the last time that when you read about this area, you learned that these woods have a lot of angry creatures in them. So they often fight with each other randomly throughout the forest.
That's not great.
No, not good. Hopefully you guys won't run into anyone. Let's jump over to Zuri.
Okay, so Zuri's in these woods. She's seeing everybody be crazy, including, like, the dwarf man hit a bunch of benches, and she's like, cool, as long as I don't get hit by any of them. And then she's just like, she's not used to wearing the kinds of clothes that Elise wears. And they're like very like, you know, like tight and stuffy, and she likes flowy things. So she's like very uncomfortable in these clothes. But she's also like trying to like go through these like branches and places. And she just feels like completely unprepared for everything that's going on. She looks ahead to the group and everybody's like far ahead of her, and she's like way back.
Yeah, so as you're walking in the back of the group, you're thinking like, oh gosh, look at, like, Gray's just like hitting these branches, like what is going on with him? And then you look up and suddenly you see like one of the branches is hanging down right in your face. But then as if like some kind of like in a feat of instant unknowable reflexes, you just duck underneath of it really, really quickly in a way that you had never been able to do before.
Which I'm just like, okay, cool. But I'm also like kind of irritated because he has no spatial awareness and that he almost hit me with this big branch. So I just take like a little pebble and I just like throw it at his head.
Go ahead and give me a roll.
Yes.
Okay, let me see.